Many government policies, and even organisations like schools, use a stick and a carrot approach to persuading people to do what is regarded as right and proper. Correct behaviour is rewarded with some kind of incentive, and unwanted behaviour is punished in some form or other. However, this approach does have severe limitations and can struggle to get people to conform to desired behaviour. There is, however, another approach to the issue, which is called the nudge theory. In certain circumstances, nudge theory may work because rather than being told in a prescriptive way what is actually right or wrong, people make up their own minds and nudge gently what might be thought of as the right direction. So being guided rather than being forced, have a greater apparent ownership in the decision on that particular behaviour. At least that's the thinking behind nudge theory. What's actually in it in practice? Does it work in reality? What are some examples of its operation? Well, theory is much as it appears to be. People are given a small nudge in the right direction to which they should be actually taking. In other words, what is regarded as the correct course of action, it comes with a subtle degree of indirect positive reinforcement. It's been tested several times and been found to produce noticeable results. For instance, in the United Kingdom, HMRC, which is responsible for collecting the taxes, sent out a series of letters to 140,000 taxpayers. Now, some of these letters were the standard letters, others were the standard letters that included the statement 9 out of 10 people paid their tax on time. People who received the letters containing the 9 out of 10 statement were more likely to pay the tax than those who received the standard letter. However, even within the 9 out of 10 style letters, there was more variation. Those who sent letters saying that 9 out of 10 people nationally pay the tax on time slightly increased the amount of payments. Those who had letters saying that 9 out of 10 people in their local town paid their tax on time dramatically increased the amount of payments. The amount of money involved was substantial. It's estimated these letters were used on a national scale and across all tax incomes. The money involved could be of the order of £1 billion a year. So it would appear that nudging does work, and the more personal you make the nudge, the more likely people are to respond to it. Other forms of nudging relating to tax have been letters saying what services the tax that was being paid was actually funding, to suggest those people with a Swiss bank account they should declare it or face a full audit. That's a range of things. The question now becomes, when is a nudge a nudge? When is a nudge actually a stick? However, nudging hasn't only been tested using tax. One of the earliest nudges was an experiment over 20 years ago in the men's toilets at Schiphol Airport, where the cleanliness due to lack of accurate aim in the men's urinals was rather poor. It was becoming expensive to actually keep them clean. So the image of a fly was actually put on the urinals. As a result, men using the urinals aimed at the fly, dramatically reducing the cost of keeping the toilets clean. Another attempt at keeping things clean was the use of footprints leading towards the location of rubbish bins, which again dramatically reduced the littering. So if nudging works, will we see more of it in the future? What actually is happening here? Well, nudging is still rather a novel approach to some problems, so people are still working out all the implications and consequences of it. Maybe that people respond to the first nudge, they become resistant to more nudges over time. A bit like advertising. After a while you see it everywhere and almost tune it out. Maybe that subsequent nudges lose the impact of the initial nudge, or if nudging becomes commonplace, then again it may lose its ability to influence behaviour. To understand if nudging will lose its impact, look at what's actually behind it. What nudge theory is actually relatively new. People actually have been using it unknowingly before. For instance, some parents may have noticed the difference in results between telling a child to tidy the room and playing a game of tidy the room. Even the difference in advertising between hard sell and soft sell could be viewed as examples of nudge theory in action. In some ways, nudge theory relates to prospect theory. It relates to the risks and rewards for a certain set of actions, and how these apply to the individual. The more perceived harm the individual risks from a particular choice, the less likely they are to make that choice, unless the reward is also similarly increased. So keep behind a nudge, the person being nudged must think they have a a personal stake in the outcome. It could be as subtle as putting a person's name on a disposable cup in a coffee shop. Once the coffee has been drunk and the cup is placed in the bin, the individual is unaffected. But if they drop the cup in the street and litter up the town, the cup is no longer an anonymous item. Instead, it's a cup with their name on it. They could be potentially directly linked to the litter. As a result, the risk of littering has increased. The subtleness of nudge theory has led people to question that it could be used as almost a method of thought control if applied to people who are unaware of it being used on them. Whereas others have said there's no force exactly being used, and the individual has ownership of the decision as to whether or not to respond to the nudge. For instance, a worker in a company being involved in a decision and guided or nudged in a particular direction by a manager probably make the person feel more motivated than just being told to do something, even if the result is the same in the end. And nudge theory is certainly now being increasingly used in business and government, generally with positive results. However, it is possible that someone who is actually aware of nudge theory in business would now use it in a political campaign. A politician could hint what political direction an area should be by explaining the details of how it's to be carried out. It could also do this by producing broad sweeping statements which analyse different things to different people. Political statements might highlight a potentially better society. It's up to the individual to decide what they think the actions required to reach stated goals. They result in people with totally opposite views of what actions required electing the same person through the use of nudge theory. The problem would then come when it came to policy implementation. The elected person would not be able to meet all the diverse wishes of the electorate. So again, the other examples, application of nudge theory may be only short-lived and unable to be replicated once the public are aware of the system.